So yeah, I'm really, really excited to be in front of the White House. This has been one of my lifelong accomplishments to actually come here. And hopefully in December, I will get a White House tour. I would be jumping for joy for that because that's also gonna make this really, really awesome year good for me. And then also it's crazy that I went to Point Barrow. I went to Adak, Alaska in the same year. And then just 3 months later, I'm at the goddamn motherfucking White House. It's really freaking awesome. So, you just keep on doing these goals. And you know what? This trip has been a bunch of setbacks. And I'm very, very happy that, no matter what, I'm working so hard not to be cynical. And you know what? This is an accomplishment. And this makes me feel very proud of myself that I'm actually traveled so much this year. And in 3 months, I was in the deepest parts of Alaska, and now I'm here. So, you just got to keep accomplishing those American dream goals. This may be one of the best years of my life, but I'm putting in the effort to make it that way. And I encourage you all to do the same thing. I'm actually very happy that I've gone here. Like, it just shows you really, really just how senseless, war is, and just how many people, didn't come back alive. And then also people who died from injuries that they gained during the war, or trauma, or PTSD. So, it gives you a lot to think about. There's an old saying by Joseph Stalin, which is, one death is a tragedy, 10,000, 100,000 is a statistic. But I like this monument because it really shows like what that 10,000 really, really is. So I think that there should be more monuments just listing the names of everybody. So it says, what, you really, really need to think about the wars that you engage in and the impact that it has on people. Like, all violence is senseless, and this monument definitely articulates that very, very well. So this is the Vietnam Veterans Women's Memorial, and it's a very, very beautiful piece. It really shows, just the sadness and despair that people had during the Vietnam War. And it's also cool that they have like a depiction of a woman looking up, looking kind of sad, because that could mean a couple of things. Like, they're alluding to, waiting for the helicopter to rescue somebody, or you don't know if a helicopter is from an enemy or a Viet Cong, or if it's a napalm strike and they're going to accidentally, get killed by friendly fire. But I also think that it's kind of like, really sad too. You see how small this one is, and then you see how long the other one is. So it kind of gives you maybe a sense of how, when we look at the military, just how, we always have the image of the American soldier, but we don't always have like, when we think of the American soldier, we think of the American man, but we don't really think about the American woman as much. Nowadays there's more understanding of women's issues. This definitely should be way, way bigger, or way, way more massive than it actually is. So I do think that it's a good symbol to show like how minute women are thought about in military service compared to the guys. War is not just fought by men, it's fought by women, it's fought by other genders as well. And I think this piece definitely articulates how we make it significant, but not significant enough, women's contributions in war. So I do want to say that this morning has been really, really awesome. And there has been a lot of hiccups. Unfortunately, there is an issue with my camera where it's saying that I have 50% left of recording time, and then it's saying my phone is full. So I had to delete some, old footage from my Alaska trip and other things like that. But, otherwise it hasn't been that really bad of a morning. And, I'm happy that there's so many monuments here that are close to each other. So, I definitely want to go to the Korean War Memorial, because that's also something that means a lot to me, because that's a war that's not really talked about that much in like high school. beautiful and powerful memorial. I like how I have the slabs with names of people, and also behind me you see a bunch of statues. I'm trying to find it for you guys. You see a bunch of statues of soldiers who fought in the Korean War, and they have like these very powerful like facial expressions. So it really just shows you the shock and horror on their faces, and also like how there's shrubs around them, because there are places like Vietnam and Korea that are known for having a lot of greenery. So there was also that fear of I could be ambushed at any time. So definitely, this is a very powerful piece. Very tangy. I don't think fruit is the best combination with any donut, unless you do like strawberry donut. I suspect more of a cream taste, but this tastes very sour and tangy. Like I'm trying to have bread. Like it's almost like I'm having like a raspberry jelly or a lemon jelly. So I'm not really a big fan of these types of combinations. Or if I wanted to finish it, I think I would like it a little bit more. It's an acquired taste. Next, the vanilla cake donut. It's definitely a donut that will give your jaw a bit of a workout because it's so compact and dense. So, guys, good morning. I want to say that a couple of things happened. So, last night I just felt very sick, and it was just being dehydrated and also just being a little tired. And so I came back here. I was editing a couple of videos, and I was also watching Dark Side of the Ring. There was a really great episode on Eddie Graham and Mike Graham, and it really was an episode talking about how we need to get help when we are dealing with suicidal thoughts and mental health issues, and I think that's important to share. And then I just got a bunch of I ordered from Ben's Chili Bowl, and I got two half smokes. It was a great dinner, and then I just fell asleep and I woke up. So my goal for today is to look at all the monuments that I can, and I think that makes me really happy because yesterday I went to a few museums. Today I'm gonna go to a few monuments, and whatever happens happens. So I don't feel it's such a big loss. But you know what? I'm still like happy that I'm getting a couple of things done, and I learned a lot. Sometimes when you have a large list, you should cut it down to 10 things. If you're going to be there for like a day and a half, really, you shouldn't do something. Maybe like 5 things a day or 3 things a day. So that way, you're not overwhelmed. And sometimes you have to work harder at researching how close these places are. And sometimes you find out the hard way how expensive Uber is. So everything's a learning experience. So I'm happy that it's 6 a.m. and I'm gonna go to the White House and I'm gonna look at all the monuments that I can today. And if there's anything I miss out on, no big deal. I can always come back in a couple of months. So being optimistic. So one of my last stops to Washington, D.C. is the National Holocaust Museum. And I just want to say that I'm very, happy to be here and just, show my respects by being here. And also, just learning from the actual museum. And, it's definitely, these museums are also very important because, obviously in America with LGBTQ, there's people that are for it. There's people against it. There's people who will be against it and be very prejudiced. Like obviously in this country, it seems like, as I say, like almost every decade you go, there's a different group of people that are ostracized. Like for a long time, it was blacks. And then, like 9/11, it was, Middle Eastern people. And, now it's LGBTQ. But the thing about it is that, like these things are reminders that, no matter what, we should always treat people with respect and humanity. And sometimes if we have fears about groups of people, or we have like concerns about how groups of people are celebrating themselves, we have to just be open-minded. Yeah, so definitely that was like the roughest part of the exhibit, is looking at a bunch of the old Holocaust footage. It's still something that's really like, terrifying, disgusting, abhorrent, and something that almost made me really sick to my stomach. But like I've kind of said, that I do appreciate like how real they are with these exhibits, but they choose not to. You know what? I just don't know how to say it, but I've seen like sometimes if you look at a film about Unit 731 that was done in the 1980s, where they just made it super gory as possible for the sake of being super gory, and I don't see that here. I don't feel like the violence that you see is exploitation. It's just saying, you know what, this is just some real BS that should have never happened, and we need to just treat each other better as human beings. That should be part of like American curriculum. Just go to DC, go to these museums, because there's a lot that's really, really important from places like this. And I also want to say that when I went to high school, I had a teacher, Tanya Neff, who did something really, really awesome. And what she did was that one of her friends was a Holocaust survivor, and this was in 2003 or four or five. My memory's not the best, but yeah, but it was really, really powerful. I remember like how there was a class that wanted to go and their teacher wouldn't let them, and then she talked to them and being like, how many times are you going to hear a Holocaust survivor speak? And I've been hurt by a lot of people in my past, and I used to be a very hateful person, but I just like hearing that person speak and talking to him about how he's not like anti-German or whatever was helpful to me, because it's just that idea of sometimes when bad things happen in the world, or when we disagree with people's walk of life, or we feel like something's being forced on us, it's very easy to get angry in our heads. And then sometimes, when people have enough power, or when government has enough power, it's easy for people to be anti, and then a lot of bad things happen. Again, like I talk about LGBTQ and how some people are very offended that a trans person was showing their breasts at the White House, and a lot of people are saying, we're sick and tired of LGBT culture because it feels like it's forced on us, or we may get suspended or ridiculed for not wearing pride shirts. I think that we're in a difficult time in this country where we're trying to tolerate everybody and we're trying to scrutinize ignorance, but we also have to understand that if people don't agree with our values and they do it in a polite way, in a respectful way, we have to respect that side. But the line gets crossed when people become prejudiced and anti and aggressive with it. We just have to, as a country, get to a point of saying, I don't agree with this, but you have a right to follow your life philosophy, and then we're all fine and stuff like that. Say, it's not a value that I appreciate, it's not a value that I take in, but I respect you as an individual coming from a different walk of life and having your own values. And I think that there'll be a lot less hate in this world. So this is my Irish coffee milkshake. So it has Jameson Irish whiskey, Kahlua, Bailey's vanilla ice cream. And it looks so strong and it looks so extremely sexy. So I can't wait to try it out for you guys. And I also can't wait for my burger. So it has the perfect mix of chocolate and alcohol. And alcohol usually has a bitter taste, which I taste here, and that's not too bad. And it's also very creamy from the whipped cream and all that, so this is a very good combination. And also they put alcohol in it, but they didn't put too much in it, so I don't feel like I'm going to be walking out of here all tipsy and drunk. So definitely this is a good combination, and I'm very happy with this. So here's the bacon cheeseburger, and it looks really, really good. I love the colors of it, and I also love the colors of the bun. I would say my only criticism is it looks very, very tiny. It's just definitely average for a gourmet burger place. I do think the presentation is really, really good. They just gotta just have maybe a burger. Maybe if this was like 50% bigger, 75% bigger, I would kind of feel it's worth it. But this is like this is probably gonna cost me like around $50. $40 with everything, $5, $6 tips, so close to $50. So, I would wish to go to somewhere else, but you know what, I'm happy with the effort. So guys, I want to talk about my trip. So I want to say that overall I had a really great time, and I like this more than my Baltimore trip, and I'm looking forward to my Boston trip. And I'm also hoping to go to Albany, New York in a few weeks as well. And there's a couple of things that I want to say, good, the bad, and what I've learned. So, the bad things were using ChatGPT, because really if you use ChatGPT and you say, I want to go to all these places, or it says these are in walking distance, sometimes they're not in walking distance, they may be a mile away each time. Or it may do something like give you suggestions. Like, let's go to Inferno Pizza, but that's 50 miles away, so it wasn't that great. The second thing is that Uber is very expensive here. That sometimes there's issues like it being like between $20 and $30 to get to a place. Sometimes the app runs very, very slow, and I think that they do that so that way you get unmotivated to wait for a ride. You just take the most expensive option and then they give it to you. And then the other thing is that, Lyft does the exact same thing as well, where if you want to get like a $16 ride, you're going to wait a long time. There's going to be people getting close to you and then they're going to cancel. But if you take the $30 or the $50 ride, you're going to get to where you're going to get to. And then the last thing was the AEW show that, while it was really, really good, I felt a little bored with it. And to me, they didn't bring their A game. They really advertised it as a show where if you came to it, you would it would be like a 5-year anniversary, or this is our show, this is our hometown, we're gonna give the biggest and best. You don't have a lot of famous wrestlers like the Acclaimed or other people as well. Like I think they're so it just didn't really appeal to me. But also too, when you go to a bunch of AEW shows or any professional wrestling show, just almost every couple of weeks, it gets really, really boring. There's a reason why it appeals when they go to the Northeast or the South for a while, and then they go to the Pacific Northwest for a while or whatever. So that way you kind of get the I miss you fatigue. And the things that I liked were the surprises. Like, I liked going to the National Indian Museum, a lot of beautiful stuff. The Hirshon Museum, very awesome exhibitions. And I also liked going to Ben's Chili Bowl. I didn't know that was going to be so good. And the Capitol Burger, it's a very nice restaurant. I'm happy that I'm here. And I know when I get my burger, it's going to be great. And I also will say that I did enjoy the National Holocaust Museum. It was very awesome. And I also enjoyed seeing the monuments this morning. I learned that if you want to see monuments, you have to do this very early in the morning. And the last thing that I'm going to say is that, I learned a lot of things. But in short, DC is a city where you can't really do everything in a day. It's near impossible. This needs to be like a 3-day weekend type of thing. And then also, too, if you do something like have this as a day trip, this is not really a good day trip place because it's so spacious and there's a lot of stuff. This is more of like a long weekend type of location. And then the other thing that I would say is that if you want to get an Airbnb or a hotel, try to do it in downtown Washington, D.C. And also when you get an Airbnb, when you get like an Uber, you have to say Pennsylvania Avenue or something that's like kind of close to a lot of monuments. So that way you feel like, my burger's about to come. Thank you. Thank you.
Mayonnaise or mustard or ranch dressing, anything I can bring over?
Oh, I'm good. Thank you.
You change your mind, let me know.
Thank you. Yeah, I just got my burger. But Washington D.C. is one of those things too that if you get an Uber, you want to like have it drop you off in a place like where the monuments are, so you can go to multiple monuments at one time. So you're not doing like get on, get off, and then sometimes the monuments are close to each other, so they may be like a half a mile or whatever away. So if you take an Uber, it's like $6 or $7. And the best time to see the monuments or anything is early in the morning. Because when you do that, there's not a lot of people around, there's not a demand for Uber, so you're saving money that way. And then also, too, if you're going to photograph with a camera, the morning's the best because the sunrise is very, very beautiful. And there's also not a lot of people around, so if you want to take pictures with nobody around in it, that's good. So that's all I got to say. It was a great journey to Washington, D.C. I'm very, very happy, and I'm going to enjoy my burger. And, safe travels wherever you go. Oh, and then the last thing I have to say about Washington, D.C. is that a lot of the attractions are inexpensive. So many of them are free. So ultimately, if you want to go to Washington, D.C. to save money, the biggest expense should be the biggest expenses should be getting your Airbnb or your hotel and then going to all the free attractions that you can. And this is a great place for runners and walkers and bicyclists. But for Uber people, you really need to have a strategy before you go, so that way you're not in a situation of relying on Uber and then it's like $20 here, $20 there, $30 here, $30 there, or I'm going to go home and or I'm just gonna go to my hotel and sleep or watch TV for a couple hours because I'm frustrated at how expensive it is. So that's all I gotta say. So I really enjoyed it, and also if you want to do a White House tour, I was not able to get in, and I did like 6 weeks in advance. I'm doing it 6 months in advance, so I'll come back to DC in December if that works out.